If your identity is tied to money, what happens when things go wrong? You lose a job, get sick, or the economy shifts. When your identity equals your income, your financial status, any disruption feels like a loss of self. A job loss becomes an identity crisis, with you asking, "Who am I now?" A financial setback becomes more than temporary. You label yourself as a failure. Therein lies the danger of basing one's whole identity on money, because money is meant to be a tool, not the foundation of who you are. When your identity is built only on financial success, you become fragile in moments of uncertainty. Welcome to the Hustle to Wealth podcast. I'm Imani Barare, your host and founder of the Wealth Fast Circle. This podcast is a safe space for ambitious African women in the diaspora who've worked hard to get where they are and are ready to move beyond survival and build real financial freedom. This is the playbook for first-generation wealth builders, the guide I wish I had in my personal wealth building journey in a foreign country. Do subscribe and leave a review on all the platforms you're listening to us on. Last week, we took a hard look at the money identity you inherited. And we also began shaping your own new money personality. Today, we go deeper. We are talking about building a wealthy life. Not what society says, not what social media shows, but what wealth truly means for you. In this episode, we will answer 3 key questions. 1, if wealth is not just money, what is it? 2, what stage of the wealth creation journey are you in today? And 3, why is wealth creation important for African immigrant women in diaspora? By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear definition of what wealth looks like for you based on your intrinsic values and a new wealth identity to get you there. What comes to mind when you hear the word wealth? For many of us, it's money. This is the definition we were taught, and this is the definition that society reinforces. Let's take a moment and think about it. What do you truly desire? Is it the money, or is it the life and access that money represents? The freedom, choices, control over your time, the ability to say no, the ability to live life on your terms. If your identity is tied to money, what happens when things go wrong? You lose a job, get sick, or the economy shifts. When your identity equals your income, your financial status, any disruption feels like a loss of self. A job loss becomes an identity crisis, with you asking, "Who am I now?" A financial setback becomes more than temporary. You label yourself as a failure. Therein lies the danger of basing one's whole identity on money, because money is meant to be a tool, not the foundation of who you are. When your identity is built only on financial success, you become fragile in moments of uncertainty. When your identity is rooted in your values, your resilience, your skills, your character, and your purpose, you may lose money, but you don't lose yourself. A friend once texted me, "I just put in my resignation." This was a well-paying job, the kind many people dream of. Good salary, great benefits, stability. But when we finally spoke, she said something I'll never forget. She said, "I can't believe how many of my children's milestones I've missed." At the time, her kids were 18 months and 3 years old. The job was great. but it was also costing her something she could never get back: time. Quality time with her children, time with her family. She was always tired, always irritable, never fully present at home with her kids because the job was stressful. And for a long time, she had pushed through because the money was good. Until it dawned on her, no amount of money could replace what she was losing. Let's redefine wealth. Does money matter? Yes, it gives us security and options. However, if it costs you your peace, your health, your relationships, then what exactly are you building? That is why this conversation is important. What does wealth actually mean? Start with the end in mind. This is the best piece of advice I've ever received about money and creating a wealthy life. What do you want your life to look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? What do you want to leave behind as your legacy? Then reverse engineer your life from there. Our lives are and should be shaped by what we value. And for many African immigrant women in diaspora, we have to be careful not to be shaped by extrinsic values. This is in the form of status, validation, appearances, a newer car, a bigger house, more clothes, the next vacation. Because the biggest dream you can achieve is to actually live a life of your choosing, one defined by your own values and goals. A life that feels honest, aligned, and authentic. And let me be clear, there's nothing wrong with the lifestyle mentioned above. You deserve it if that aligns with your vision of a meaningful life. Otherwise, you will end up building someone else's dream life. True wealth is multidimensional, and money is just one layer of the wealth pyramid. We've been taught to chase the base of that pyramid and ignore everything else above it. The categories below shall help you reflect on your core values and identify what matters to you. They should expand your definition of wealth. 1. Time, affluence, and freedom. This is the ability to make choices without constraint, the ability to choose how and where you spend your day or your life, the ability to make decisions about your career, job, relationships, and life without fear. It's the flexibility to respond to changes, take risks, and pursue opportunities on your own terms. 2. Health and well-being. What is the point of accruing money if you're not able to enjoy it? Wealth includes physical, mental, and emotional well-being, the energy, strength, and resilience to live fully. It's the peace of mind and stability that allows you to thrive, not just survive. Relationships and community. This is the third form of wealth. It speaks to quality of connections, friendships, relationships with your spouse or your partner, and community. Wealth is belonging, it's connection and social capital. It gives you access to mentorship and supportive networks. Number 4, happiness and fulfillment. Wealth is personal development, joy, contentment, and satisfaction in daily life, inner peace that comes from aligning actions with value. Number 5, purpose and legacy. The ability to give back to your community and society in general. Meaningful work that you choose and enjoy, that aligns with your values, and impacts other people's lives. So the real question then becomes, are you building based on societal expectations, or are you building based on your true desires? Next, let's break down the wealth pyramid. This will help you understand where you are in your wealth building journey and what your next step should be. The hustle to wealth pyramid has 9 individual pillars, but at its core, wealth building for African immigrant women in diaspora happen in 3 stages. First, we secure, then we grow, and finally, we leave a legacy. Many of us were raised in the first stage, where hustle, driven by hard work, is our primary leverage. We then tried to educate ourselves on the second stage through podcasts, books, and even paying for financial advice and coaching. But we rarely make it to the final stage, the stage where we safeguard what we've built and create a real advantage for the next generation. This progression mirrors the real immigrant wealth journey psychologically and financially. Now, let's look at the characteristics of each stage to help you determine where you are currently. The hustle stage. The goal is to build stability and security. The pillars include learning to navigate the financial system in the new country that you've immigrated to. 2, having an income strategy. This includes getting a starter job, rebuilding your career, and maybe going back to school. 3, having a savings strategy. Your goal at this stage is to learn the financial system, stabilize your income, and create breathing room. Your strength is your resilience. However, hustle is supposed to be a stage, but for many of us as African immigrant women in diaspora, it ends up being our identity. How do you know you're ready to transition to the next stage? You start adjusting your cultural and behavioral expectations by setting boundaries on how and why you spend money. You start asking questions such as, I'm making money, but I'm always exhausted. Why don't I have time to do the things I enjoy or spend time with family and friends? This stage can be characterized by burnout despite achievements, high income with low fulfillment, questioning the definition of success, and the desire for time affluence. This is the foundational stage, and if it's not done correctly, investing advice normally fails. Stage 2, the growth stage. This is the wake-up call. The goal is to start building wealth intentionally, to give yourself permission to move away from survival. The core question here becomes, how do I make money work for me instead of only working for money? The pillars are financial literacy. You read books, listen to financial literacy podcasts, and engage financial advisors. You have an investment plan. This includes strategies, structures, and systems that are in place to facilitate your wealth building journey and that align with your values. Lastly, you understand the magic of compounding as a wealth building tool. This stage expands wealth into a more balanced life system. You know you're ready for transition into the next stage when you start reviewing your inherited money, identity, and beliefs. You seek to activate your new money personality and have a wealth plan that aligns with your core values. You create a wealth identity that moves you from hustle to actual ownership. You start shifting from external validation to internal alignment. If implemented properly, money creates choices and options in this stage. Please note, majority of ambitious African immigrant women in diaspora get stuck in the growth stage because it has a lot of moving parts. The legacy stage. This is about protection and transfer. The core question becomes, will my wealth outlive my efforts? The core pillars are insurance, estate planning, monitoring and evaluation, where you repeat what is working and drop what is not. At this stage, wealth becomes fully multidimensional and generational. Wealth is connected to purpose and community impact. Knowledge and financial education is passed on to your kids and the next generation. Now that we've defined wealth, let's talk about why it matters. For African immigrant women in diaspora, true wealth looks like freedom from constant financial pressure, the ability to rest without guilt, and the confidence to set boundaries. It is the ability to live a life of dignity and alignment, a life of independence, and above all, a life of options. The option to get married or not, or when to get married. The option to have children and raise them on your terms. The option to step back from a job when you choose without fear. But wealth is also collective. It means being able to support family back home without sacrificing your own stability. It means contributing to your community, uplifting others, and creating opportunities that extend beyond your circle. It means setting up your children differently, giving them access to opportunities you did not have or you had to fight for, providing stability so that they do not have to start from zero, equipping them with knowledge, exposure, and choices. Without intentional wealth building, it's easy to remain in cycles of obligation and survival, where you are constantly giving from an empty cup and never truly moving forward. True wealth is a bridge to opportunity. It allows you to live life on your own terms. If you take away anything from today's episode, let it be this. You are not just someone trying to make money. You are someone designing a life of your dreams. Because if you do not consciously choose and commit to a new wealth identity that aligns with your intrinsic values, you will spend years grinding, hustling, striving, only to end up unfulfilled, exhausted, and disconnected from the life you were meant to live. In this week's Call to Wealth, I'm going to guide you through a short reflection. This will take about 3 minutes, and it might change how you define wealth going forward. I want you to take a moment, grab a notebook, or open the notes app on your phone. If you're driving or walking, just listen and come back to this exercise later. Write this question down. What is your definition of wealth? Not a number, not a salary, but a feeling, a lifestyle, a vision. Next, ask yourself, what does my wealth life actually look like day to day? Does it include freedom, health, time affluence, peace, joy, relationships? Next, what am I currently prioritizing? And does it align with the life I truly want to live? What could I change about my current life if I was not afraid of failure? Where am I building for appearance, societal expectations instead of alignment? And finally, ask yourself, if I continue living exactly how I am living today, where will I be in 5 years? Be honest with yourself, because if you don't define wealth for yourself, you will inherit a life and consequences you never consciously chose. We've come to the end of today's episode. If this conversation resonated with you, subscribe to the podcast, share it with other amazing African women in diaspora. Share your money stories or questions with us through hustle2wealthpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Hustle to Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Imani Barare, and this is where we move from hustle to wealth. See you next time.